NERDSoul.
Why are you a black man in love? Welcome everyone to Black Together, a walk in her shoes. For those of you that are here for the first time, thank you for joining us and checking us out. For those of you that are coming back once again, thank you for continuing to check us out. I am Lady Lisa. I'm here with my sister, cousin, partner in crime, Madam Buddaphlai. Say hello.
Peace, love, and light, everybody.
All right, so we have a new topic this week, and it's pretty light compared to what we usually talk about. But Miss Monique, Miss Queen of Comedy, Monique, had something to say about her sisters and how they present themselves when they are coming out the house. Tell us a little bit about what she had to say, Madam Butterfly.
Well, she said that she was traveling and she was in the airport and she saw more Black women than she could count, wearing either bonnets, slippers, pajamas, or having a blanket wrapped around them. And that because I want to make sure that I don't say the wrong thing.
I'm gonna pause you right there.
Yes.
So now that we know kind of just a little bit of the gist, we need to know what kind of shoes to wear to dive into this thing. So what do we have in our shoebox for such an occasion?
Today we have a women's soft summer fuzzy faux fur slide. That was a mouthful. But yeah, I'm sure that the listeners know exactly what shoe that is. Yeah. So yeah, that's the shoe that we're rocking today. The fuzzy faux fur slide.
It comes in powder puff pink or blue.
Indeed it does. Indeed it does. But yes, so she was talking about, whether it was the airport or the store, or gas station, wherever, that she was tired of seeing Black women presenting themselves in that way. And that, basically, her fans, her supporters, whomever, have, kind of given her the role of auntie. They refer to her as auntie. And and so she has a responsibility to Black people, to speak on something when she feels like it should be talked about. And so yeah, that, I don't know if you want me to go into her follow-up video, because of course she got a lot of criticism. Maybe we can, do that later on. But
yeah,
just her initial post, she said, she said it appears when a woman dresses that way, it appears that they do not care. She's not stating that they don't care, but it appears that way. And that basically, at what point did we as Black women, I guess maybe stop having a standard of acceptability when going in public?
Yeah. So yeah, I thought, it was interesting. I mean, honestly, I know some people seem to be totally like, mind your business. Mind, it ain't none of your business. Me personally, I'm like, she has a point. That's how I feel about it. I really do feel, she has a point, and she came from a place of love.
Right.
I think I may have taken it differently, possibly if she came from a place of just, rolling the neck, wagging the finger, calling names, that kind of thing. But that's not where, in my opinion, that's not where she was coming from. I didn't take it, offensively. And I truly think she was coming from a place of love and concern, and from a role of auntie, a role of like, okay, sisters, okay, babies, let's do better than this now, kind of thing. And so, I just think we're in a place where nobody wants to be checked, nobody wants to be critiqued, nobody wants to be guided in any way, shape, or form. Don't nobody want to be told nothing. And everything is okay. If you want to do it, it's fine. If it makes you happy, it's fine. And so, I mean, it wouldn't have mattered what she said. If it was a thing of, I'm trying to correct you or guide you or whatever, don't nobody want no parts of it. You do what you want to do. What do you think?
I agree totally. I mean, you and I were raised similarly. So it doesn't surprise me that we see eye to eye on this, as far as when you go outside, you present yourself in a certain way. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that you have to have on, $1 million clothing or anything like that. It's just, there is or was a standard when we were coming up. You're going to be clean, you're going to be pressed, you're going to be moisturized, you're going to be slicked down.
Yes. In the middle of summertime, stick to the leather seat in the car, slicked down.
And that was the standard that we were raised with. And I understand that there are some people that were not raised with that belief that you go out into the world showing, at your best, pretty much. And so I personally am bothered when I see Black women in bonnets and pajamas and things like that. And the reason that I am bothered is because I believe that I represent my sisters just like my sisters represent me. And, let's be real, in the context of white supremacy, how we dress is not going to matter one way or the other. I mean, we were lynched in suits and we were lynched in jeans. You know what I mean? So this isn't from the perspective of trying to sit at a table that otherwise would not be available. This is not about that. What I feel that this is about is about a pride and love for self.
Absolutely.
To me, this is about the rising of a people, there being a collective, unified agreement that this is how we're going to operate and function in this space. And we're not going to cut corners. And perhaps the appearance aspect of it may be considered trivial in the grand scheme of things, but I do believe that for us as a people to be in a different place, socioeconomically and otherwise, we have to. I'll put it this way: it would be better for us to have a collective idea on how it is that we're going to move, operate, and function. And so when there are people, when the outliers start doing things that are contradictory to our movement, they can be checked in love, because that's the way that it used to be. When we were kids, whoever was closest to you when you was acting up popped you. And that's just what it was.
Yeah.
And there was no anger or resentment, because there was a collective understanding that it takes a village to raise a child. And everybody who was in the space of that child was a trusted part of that village to impart that kind of message or discipline or whatever the case may be. And now nobody wants anyone to say anything to their children or to them.
Yeah.
Well, if you're doing something that really isn't beneficial to you and someone sees it, why wouldn't you want to be told that? Because we've all been in a situation, any adult, and even children as well, but any adult has been in a situation where they didn't know something and then they came into the awareness of learning, right? And then once they come into that awareness, their movement changes based on that information, right? And so why wouldn't you want to be made aware of the messaging that you send out, or how people perceive you? Because how you're perceived is directly linked to specific opportunities. Now, if you don't care, if you don't have any dreams, goals, ambitions, desires for anything, then show up, show out, however it is that you want to show up and show out, and and that'll just be what it is. That's your life. But know and understand that, once again, we represent each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
That was kind of a long answer.
No. And I'm with you on pretty much all of it. I just will say, in addition, and this is something NERDSoul and I were talking about last night after we watched some of the videos. And my thing is, let's take the whole idea about how someone perceives you out of it. Let's just take that out. And let's talk about how you what you want to put out there. Like what image are you trying to put out there? What do you want to look like? Because really, honestly, you can't control someone's perception. Right? People are gonna, we like you said a minute ago, it really doesn't matter. People will lynch with a suit on or with jeans, right? So we don't have that control of how they choose to look at us, but we can control what we're putting out. Right? They can say whatever they want to say, but we know what we're putting out. So I'm with you when it comes from a place of, what about self-love? What about what you have in your mind about how you want to be seen, or how you just want to present yourself? How do I want to present myself? If I go somewhere, if I go to the store and nobody is in that store whatsoever, doesn't matter. This is how I want to present myself. It's me and the cashier. That doesn't even matter. This is how I want to present myself. That's just kind of how I look at it, because you really can't control how someone else sees you. If you from that point of view, because some people want to argue that well, it doesn't matter anyway. It doesn't matter how we put ourselves out there, because the powers that be have made up in their mind how they perceive us anyway. Okay, cool. So let's take that out of it. How about you just want to look decent? How about that?
Right. Yeah.
Can we just roll with that?
Right.
And to piggyback on what you're saying about everybody being accountable, for someone else, and being able to be told anything. I look at it like this. So if you have a child and your child somehow gets lost, and your child is walking down the highway in danger, right? Do you want somebody to snatch your child and get them out of danger if they see him? Or you want them to mind their business and let them get run over by a 18-wheeler? You want them to snatch them out the road, right?
Yeah.
But if it's anything else beyond that, mind your business.
Right. Because it's funny that you say that, because one of the things that I thought about when I was hearing several people saying mind your business, those were probably the same people who had a problem with people recording acts of injustice and violence against Black people, as opposed to intervening, like physically intervening.
Mhm.
And so, if you feel like people shouldn't record when someone is being killed by the police or something like that, and that they should physically intervene, then you can't say mind your business,
Right.
because either the philosophy is that you mind your business. That
Mhm.
means across the board. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean selective, right? Or I am my brother's keeper.
Mm.
So which is it? Are we responsible for each other? Do we have a duty and obligation to each other? Or is it every man for himself? What are we doing here?
But I'm gonna tell you, I hate to say it, I love my sisters. I do. But a sister will not be checked.
Right.
A sister will not be corrected.
Hmm.
Period. We will
Period.
not be held accountable amongst ourselves.
Right.
We will
That's
not.
real.
I do what I want to do. I'm grown.
Yeah. And and to an extent that is true. You know, you are grown, you live in a free society, you can do what you want to do within reason as long as it's within the confines of the law. So yeah, all of those things are true. Um, at the same time, if you feel like you can just do whatever you want and it's a free for all, then at the same time, you cannot be combative towards someone who has an opinion about you doing whatever it is that you want to do. Because if there's no parameters for you as a grown person, then there's no parameters for anybody else as a grown person. So they have the right to criticize, comment, judge, whatever word you want to put in there, about whatever it is that you're doing, right? Because we're talking about equity, right? So
Mhm.
either everybody can do as they want as an adult, they can do whatever they want, they can say how they, live how they want, all of that, or they can't. That doesn't only apply to you, and then it leaps over others
Yeah.
who may find what you do problematic.
Yeah.
But I will say something else, because another thing that I had thought about was how you feel when you first get a new outfit, or your hair done, or whatever your thing is, because everybody has their thing. Maybe it's a new pair of shoes or whatever, but you feel different on the inside
Mhm.
when you have on a new outfit, or you just got your hair done, haircut, whatever.
Mhm.
And so in that same kind of on that same wavelength, if you know that you feel different, better, whatever word that you want to add, um, when you are presenting yourself a certain way, then I don't think it's unreasonable to believe that on some maybe subconscious level, that dressing in the reverse has an opposite effect. And I'm just talking about sense of self. I'm not talking about anybody's perception of anything, but I'm talking about a person's own psyche,
Yeah.
you know? Um, so yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. And I think, some people have argued, maybe these women, that's just what they're comfortable in. They're fine with themselves and that's just what they're comfortable in. I mean, well, of course, that's what you're comfortable in. I'm comfortable in my drawers too. Are we all? Are we
Right.
all? We're all comfortable in our pajamas and with our hair tied up and whatever. Yes, that is comfortable, but it's not just about that. It's about you're going out and about and you're presenting yourself, to the world. It's just I don't know. It's about what's appropriate in my
Hmm.
opinion. You know,
Hmm.
but I don't know. Everybody is raised differently.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Yeah, a lot of people will argue a lot of different things. For me, the bottom line of it is, I don't think it was anything wrong with her saying that. We
I
can
don't either.
we can argue about whether what she said was quote right or wrong,
Hmm.
but I don't think there was anything wrong with her saying it. And again, it's because she said it in love. She didn't say it from a place of attack. She didn't say it
Right.
from a place of being judgmental. She didn't say it from a
Right.
place of being ugly, nasty, above, or any of those things.
Right.
She said it in a way that somebody's auntie
Right.
would say it.
I agree. I agree. And I
And,
think that's so important. So that was like the cherry on top, because it's like, is this really the sword that you want to die on?
right.
Like, of all of the things, because I mean, I've heard all of this stuff about, Black women can't do anything. They can't even wear a bonnet. I'm just thinking, okay, of all of the hardships
Of all the things
that
we gonna
Black
fight
women,
for,
right? This is what we on the picket line for.
in our
It's the
body.
right to roll straight out of bed and go to wherever it is that we going, completely unkempt, unwashed, just all of that. That's what we want to fight for the right to do. I mean, when you think about it in that sense, it's so beyond ridiculous to me, because not even that long ago, in some of our parents and grandparents' generation, they were fighting for the right to freaking exist,
Mm, yeah,
just to exist in peace,
yeah,
like just that. And so we're mad because one of our sisters said, represent yourself in the best way possible when you're out and about.
yeah,
I'm not going to do that. Like when you really think about that,
yeah,
when
yeah,
you really think about that, you're arguing that you don't have to represent yourself well.
right. And it's like the example that Pierre gave on Comedy Hype, because they were reviewing the video and giving their opinions. And he said, okay, what if I want to go on a plane with my plain white t-shirt on and I got mustard stains, spit stains, and all kinds of stuff on it? I ain't take a bath or nothing. I tell you, mind your business.
It's real.
So I got to sit beside your funky behind on the plane because that's just how you want it to roll. But I need to
Right.
mind my business.
Right. Well, and once again, to me, it's about, everybody kind of has, they pick and choose what acceptable standards
Mm-hmm,
are. You
mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And usually whatever standards clip you at the knees
Yeah,
is not something that you want to deal with, but you're willing to impose standards on other people for behaviors and things that you don't participate in. So, oh, well, because I do it this way, it's okay.
yeah,
I'm not part of XYZ. And as far as going and tapping on somebody's shoulder or something like that, um, I wouldn't necessarily speak to someone about that I don't have a personal relationship with, or I don't know.
mm-hmm,
Um, and sure, everybody has the right to wear whatever they want. I certainly wouldn't want somebody coming up to me and telling me, what I have on is this, that, or the third. But
mm-hmm.
I think that everybody has a responsibility to the people in their life, to the people in their circle, and to at least put it out there that everything that you do, say, wear, whatever, has an effect. You know what I mean? And we're seeing that a lot with people getting canceled. The internet is a very powerful tool.
Yeah,
The internet is a very powerful tool. And so whether people want to roll their necks and say how somebody else perceives me doesn't matter, that's just not true,
right.
because you have to function and exist in a physical world. So as long as you need a place to stay, a job, or an opportunity for a stream of income, um, schools, whether it's for yourself or your children, as long as there are things in place that you have to seek out in order for your you to survive, then other people's perceptions do matter.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. It's very true. It is the bottom line. And this is kind of a tangent, but not really. Um, another thing I thought about is for these women that are single, these Black women that are single, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if you are out there trying to find a man, or you want to be found, ma'am, you never know when or where that one, if you will, if you believe in the one, sees you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really want him to see you when you are out with your bonnet and your slide, your puffy pink or blue slides on?
But see,
Right?
this is where the goalpost moves, though, Lisa, because then it becomes, well, if he can't accept me for who I am, then he ain't for me anyway. That's where the goalpost moves. But see, he's supposed to be completely together. He can't have a scuff on his shoes, right? He can't
His
have
belt can't
on
be black and the shoes brown.
exactly, like he has to be tip top shape. Everything, everything has to be on point. But for you, it's, well, if he can't accept me for who I am, then he ain't right for me anyway. That's the nonsense. Just
Yeah.
like the goalpost move with the conversation about, well, what about do-rags? Well, we're not talking about do-rags right now. And I do recall not that long ago when there were a whole lot of conversations about sagging pants and all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And nowhere in the conversation did the focus shift
Right.
to bonnets, scarves, or anything like that. We talked about sagging pants,
Yeah.
and how that appears and comes off, and all of that. In the same way, now, ladies, it's our turn, and we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
We need to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, if you don't care about the negative impacts that could potentially happen from you not representing your best whenever you leave your house, then by all means, continue to do what you do. This conversation isn't for you. You know what I mean? It's not for you, and that's okay. But if you do know and understand that your image is tied to everything that you do in the physical world, and you want to find a way to have the best control over that narrative of yourself as possible, then when you leave out of that door, you need to be on point.
Yeah. And nobody's saying you need to be wearing your Sunday best. Nobody's
Right.
saying that. I mean, that's something that we as Black folks did back in the day. It's just a way of life for probably very different reasons. No one's saying that. We're saying when you going outside, wear outside clothes.
Right. Right. Right.
Clothes that you have to actually buy from the department that says, I don't know, outerwear. Not sleepwear.
Right. Right.
I don't
That's
know.
funny.
So I agree. I mean, I get it. I know she was talking specifically, about the airport, and that's what kind of prompted this, and I understand when you're flying, you want to be comfortable. You really do, because you are going to be sleeping for the most part on the plane, but you can be comfortable without putting on your pajamas.
Right. I mean, come on. How come you could wear a daggone hoodie and sweats,
mm-hmm.
and have the same level of comfort,
yep.
as you would pajamas, and be actually dressed in clothing that is meant for the public.
Right.
And it's not like you got to go through any more of a hassle in putting on a sweatsuit than you do pajamas. Like, come on.
Well, you didn't have to put on your pajamas. You had them on when you left the house. It's a scary thought, because now I'm wondering, so did you reach up under and wash up, or did you just not wash up? Because I know you ain't take them off and wash up and put them back on. The more we talk about it, the more I'm like, okay, how did this goes deeper, because now we're talking about, did you even wash
Yes.
what NERDSoul will call the hot spots. Did you watch? I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you're in the airport, you're gonna be sitting closer than close to some other people for
Yes.
an extended period of time.
Yes. That's real. That is so real.
Yeah.
So real. Crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy. So I mean, you know, I I I I don't find a problem with her saying it. I agree with what she said, and even if I didn't agree with her saying it, I agree with her um having the right to say it, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? We just, as Black women, Lord, we have to just get beyond, you know, feeling like no one can say anything to us. We cannot be corrected. We cannot be given any type of information that is contrary to what we already have or believe, you know, without getting the attitude, without being overly defensive. Because if that's where we're going to stand, then we have to be ready to say, I'm already perfect. I'm already perfect as I am. I already know everything. I don't need any additional guidance. There is nothing I need to do differently. I'm already getting everything that I want.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we all know that is not true.
Hmm.
And if all of that is not true, and if we know all of that is not true, then we have to be open to guidance,
Mm-hmm.
to critique,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes a slap on the wrist.
That's real.
Sometimes getting our feelings a little bit hurt in order
That's
to
real.
do better. And that's what it comes
Mm-hmm.
down to. Now, the other thing I thought of was maybe people have an issue with the messenger, you know, because we've had some issues with Monique,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So some
Mm-hmm.
people um uh you know will say, well, you know, I know she's not talking, you know,
Right.
kind of thing. And honestly, that was my first response before I knew really the whole gist of what she was saying. I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, she's just trying to be relevant. She just want to be heard and be like, remember me, y'all, kind of thing. And that was honestly my first response. And then when I took the time to listen to what she said, it was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of any of that, she's right.
Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
I think that, with all of the flack that she's received over the last few years,
Mhm,
she still has been on message. Her
mhm,
message has been consistent over the years with all of the backlash that she's received. And that's been about Black love, Black preservation, getting our just due, and whether we agree with her method in that or not, I can at least give her props for what she's using her platform for.
mhm,
You know, um, I think that her intentions are pure, and I even, like I said, I thought that her delivery was really good. People are gonna take what you say however they're going to take what you
mhm.
say. All you can do is do the best that you can to effectively communicate the message that you want to convey, and then it's at the world's fingertips at that point, and it can become whatever. And so, which brings me to um her follow-up,
Mm,
um her follow-up uh to the initial post, where she's, and I don't even see why there was a need for this, but where she is explaining that she's not talking about head wraps, like, African head wraps, or
right.
celebrating that. She's not talking about hijabs for, Muslim women. She's not talking about any of that. She's specifically talking about when women are when women make a decision, I am not going to comb my hair, I'm going to put this bonnet on or leave this bonnet on. I'm going to go outside with pajamas on because I am too lazy to put on clothes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for her to have to follow up with that, I feel like her initial message articulated that, you
Yeah,
know,
it
but
did.
sometimes people get so reactionary and emotional that they can't fully hear what's happening,
Yeah.
you know. And so, you know, she does this follow-up video where she's saying, this is specifically what I'm talking about, and this is specifically why I'm saying what I'm saying. And not only that, but I had an elder come and correct me, and because that elder came and corrected me, meaning she was talking about Patti LaBelle,
Mm-hmm.
being that that elder came and corrected me, my career went on a totally different path. It changed me for the better.
Yeah.
And so she's trying to pass that along, you know,
Right.
each one teach one. She's trying to pass along that blessing. But like you said earlier, no one wants to be corrected. So
Yeah. And the other thing, kind of going back to the comedy hype when they were discussing it, and the young lady, I can't remember her name, who hosts the show, was talking about, oh well, sometimes I might go out my bonnet, if I have an event, and I don't want to da, 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 da. And it's like, okay, we're not talking about exceptions. We're not talking about things that happen here and there, because that's what's happening. You don't have a line of women at the airport who each have someplace important to go where they don't want to mess up their hair, whatever that may be. Like,
right,
stop. Let's
right,
stop with the what ifs and the outliers. That's not what
right.
we're talking about. And then she went on to talk about, the weather may not be, friendly to my hair. First of all, the bonnet is not weatherproof. We all know that. As sisters, we know a bonnet. Look, you go out in that southern humidity if you want to with a bonnet on, thinking that's going to protect you.
Right.
It will not, ma'am. That bonnet gonna be much fuller when you come back in the house than it was when you left.
Or like the meteorologist when there's a hurricane and they're always standing by like some random pole or tree holding on. They can just have on that bonnet and take it off. Everything is perfect. Parts, gel, everything is in place because they had on the bonnet.
They had on the bonnet. No, it's gonna be more like that old school Jiffy Pop you used to put on the stove that had that. You pick that thing
Yes.
up and it like blow
Yes.
up. That's gonna be weird. Go out and talk about protecting your head with the bonnet if you want to. So it's like when she made that argument, I was like, ma'am, you don't believe that yourself. You don't believe that yourself. Not in all your
Yeah.
natural hair. You do not.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like, just stop. We're not,
Yeah.
it's not like she's saying, it's not like Monique said, I've seen Black women here and there. No, it's in a large number. So it's not,
Yeah.
you can't have a large number represent exceptions, because then it's no
Right.
longer an exception.
Right.
It's not
That's true.
it's not a sometimes here and there. No, this is like a habit. It's a
Yeah.
habit.
I guarantee at least 95% of the people who heard the video, regardless of whether they agreed or disagreed, knew exactly what she was talking about
Yeah.
because they personally either saw it with their own eyes
Or have done it.
or done it. Exactly. Like, come on. This is not something that's new. Like, oh, what is this? What is this bonnet that she speaks of?
Talking about? I've never seen Black women do that. Where is she going to see that? Yeah, no one was confused. You're right. No one posted a comment going, huh? What does she mean?
What is this? What is this? How do you Bonnet? What is this that she speaks of?
People are wearing these things outside of their homes? Like, you're right. No one was shocked and appalled that she would say such because it was just so untrue. And how
Yes.
dare she? No, we knew exactly
Yes.
when she said it. We was like, well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And the thing of it is that in in identifying in your mind's eye that whole image, there is a bias or a belief system attached to the type of person that presents themselves in that way,
yeah,
regardless of whether that is true or not.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
A person who is, I don't know, the CEO of a Fortune 500 company has the ability to put a bonnet on their head just like anybody else,
Mm-hmm.
right? But regardless of whether it's a CEO or it's the most ratchet of the ratchet, when that imagery is presented, more often than not, people are going to associate that with a ratchet person
Yeah.
and not a CEO. Whether that's, right, wrong, or indifferent, that is the narrative that goes along with that.
Yeah.
And people have to stop pretending like when they see things in the world that they don't associate anything with what it is that they
Mm-hmm.
see, because you do. That's part of being human. So if you're associating things with what you see, then somebody else is doing that too. And once again, if you don't care, about how what you do affects the overall outcome of your life or the success of your life, then fine, continue to do what you do. But if you recognize that you live in a physical world and you need assistance from the physical world in order for you to operate the way that you want to operate, then move accordingly.
Yeah.
Whatever accordingly is to you, you
Yeah.
move as such.
Yeah. I agree. But at the core, and my thing is this: if that's how you feel, then express that's how you feel. And the whole mind your business thing. No,
Mm-hmm.
no. I mean, we have to be able to um be critiqued to be we have to be able to listen to constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing, if it ain't for you, then it ain't for you.
Right.
But that doesn't mean just because you don't feel it's for you doesn't mean she didn't have a right, if you will, to say it, or she was not minding her business when she said it.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? For the women, it doesn't apply to who don't go out the house, where they supposed to say, well, she just need to mind her business because I don't do that. Well, you know, you ain't the only person in the world. And if it's not for you, then obviously she's talking about somebody else.
Exactly. But that's too much like right. Well, I heard a term that I had not heard before, and that was respectability politics.
Oh, you hadn't heard that before?
I had never heard that before.
Hmm.
And so for those out there like me who had not heard of that, it's basically just saying that kind of like a belief system that the respect that you receive is based on what you put out there. I
Mm-hmm.
guess is a good
Mm-hmm.
way for me to paraphrase it. And you know, the whole concept of it for me is flawed because I don't think that I don't think that anywhere in, well, let me just say it's flawed in particular. I'm thinking of it in this context, not in a on a broad scale. So within the context of this whole bonnet thing, nowhere in the conversation was the messaging that you aren't worthy of respect as a human being if you wear a bonnet, pajamas, and slippers, or a combination of aforementioned. Uh, Nowhere was that part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what happens, which is a natural occurrence, is people formulate opinions and belief systems based upon how you present yourself. That is an automatic thing that you have you have limited control over. You have control over what, how you represent yourself. And then another person has control over how they receive that image,
Yeah.
And so for that to kind of be tied into this conversation, I really didn't see a place for it as far as what uh Monique's messaging.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I can say is that I do remember back in the day, Bill Cosby would speak a lot about, the sagging and that type of thing, and he came across as judgy and condescending
Yeah.
and that type of thing. And I think that can be very dangerous, because as Black people, we can kind of inadvertently give a pass to others to be disrespectful to us based on how we honor or dishonor ourselves or others within that group.
Yeah.
So I just, one of the podcasts that I was watching, they mentioned that, and I was just like, okay, that's an interesting concept, but I don't think it's applicable here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely see what you're saying. You know, and it's easy to get stuck in that too, because once you start talking about, respectability politics, you can get stuck in that, because then you're starting to really focus on, like we've said, how someone receives you, right? And that's something we don't have control over. It can't be that can't be the focus, because if you focus on how you want to present yourself, if that becomes the focus, then no one else has control over that. We're not
Right.
focusing on how somebody sees us and how somebody takes us and what somebody thinks about us. What do you think of yourself? How do you want to be perceived? Or sorry, how do you want to present yourself? Because we don't have control over someone's perception. How do you want to present yourself when you look in the mirror, right? And you think about you walking in open spaces. How, if you could get outside of yourself and watch you operating in different areas and different spaces, how do you want to see yourself dressed from head to toe?
Right.
What will make you feel proud and joyful about seeing? And
Right.
that's what it comes down to. And if you say your bonnet and your slippers and whatever else, then fine. Fine. If that's what you want to stay with, fine. But I will say you full of it.
Absolutely. Because bonnets and slippers aren't being worn to the club.
Thank you.
That's my whole thing. Because that to me would mean that it's across the board. This is, I can do what I want to do or whatever. You not wearing a bonnet to the club lets me know that you understand that there are certain things that are appropriate or inappropriate in certain spaces. So if you believe that there are certain things that are inappropriate and appropriate in certain spaces, then you should be able to understand what it is that Monique is saying, even if you don't agree with her,
Right.
because you're practicing that exact same thing.
Right. But see, I think the argument would then be, if somebody wanted to be honest, well, I care about what the people in the club think, because I'm a woman and I'm trying to get a dude to look at me. I care what they think. When I go in the airport, I don't care what they think. But my thing is, the same dude you would talk to in the club may very well be in the airport, ma'am.
Right.
And you just missed out.
Yep.
I mean, how many different ways can you or do you want to look at this? Because that's what it comes down to. The reality of it is, there's no one who can truly and honestly say they don't care how they're perceived. So to get back on that, there's no one that can honestly say they don't care how they're perceived. If that was the case, like you said, they'd be wearing the bonnet to the club, they'd be wearing the bonnet to church, they'd be wearing the bonnet to work.
Yeah. Yep.
They just have a bonnet for every day, in every color, every style. to switch or not switch. I don't know. So that's what it comes down to. The bottom line of it was you didn't think that it was important to put on clothes to go on the plane. You had or run to the store or whatever else. In your mind, I don't care who sees me. I don't care what anybody says. I just want to be comfortable. This place isn't important. There's not going to be anybody there important. And the bottom line is you don't know if there's going to be anybody there important or not. You have no idea if there's going to be anybody important there or not. You don't know if someone's going to see you or not. The bottom line is you just decided you don't care.
Right.
Just say it. I didn't care.
Right. That's real. That's real.
I mean, because after that, I'd be like, well, okay. There's no place else for us to go at that point. If somebody says all those things to you and you like, I just don't care. All right.
Right. Yep.
But
let the chips fall where they may.
Let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah.
Let the chips fall where they may. But so yeah. Interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll see where it goes from here. We'll see where it goes from here. I don't know how much more conversation will be had about this or how far it's going to go. I'd be interested to hear other Black women in the public eye. I'd be interested to hear what they have to say, across the board, actresses, politicians, whomever. I'd just be interested to hear their perspectives on this. Not only just her exact opinion of what she said, but whether or not she should have said it. Because I think those are two things that are being discussed. Did she have a quote right to say it? So come on, Black women.
And if she doesn't have the right to say it, then you don't have the right to say whatever it is that you want to say that's on your mind.
Right.
Because we got to be equitable. So
as Black women, do we?
Exactly.
If it doesn't work for us at the moment, then no, we don't.
But we have the right to change our mind within the same conversation.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, like my 3-year-old does with me. He'll say something like, I'm eating my food. You're not. No, I'm not. What? You just changed up on me. Yeah.
It's just we have to figure out what the messaging is going to be and be consistent with whatever that messaging is, because if we're minding our business, then we're minding our business across the board. We don't get to pick and choose when business is minded, right? That's just what it is. If you are beyond reproach, then anyone that you want to correct is beyond reproach. So you need to keep your opinions to yourself. You don't have the right to speak on how somebody's living their life. You don't want anybody to speak on how you live in yours.
And if that's the case, get off of all social media platforms. Get off them right now. Don't you post nary another thing. Because if I come in contact with one more person that want to say, I wish people would mind their business, you just posted this on Facebook. You posted a whole thing about what's going on with you on Facebook. And then when somebody says something that you don't like, y'all need to mind your business. How do I know your business, ma'am? Let's talk about that.
Exactly.
Nobody told me. You told me.
Right. And if you know what somebody else is saying, whether it's about you or somebody else, then are you minding your business? I'm just saying. It's just a never ending hole. It just keeps getting
Yes,
deeper and
it's a
deeper.
whole world of business mindedness. Oh my God.
Exactly. Yeah. This is we have to do better. Like regardless of whether, regardless of what side of the conversation you are on with this, we have to do better as far as what it is that we dig our heels in on and want to fight about.
Yeah,
We have far too much to work toward as a people to
absolutely.
be digging our heels in on bonnet wear.
Yes. We can't be so stuck in, what we have the right to do and what we have the freedom to do as Black women that we get to the point where anything goes.
Right.
There is,
For real.
you know, it's a very thin line, honestly, between having freedom and just not caring.
Yeah.
And we have to be very careful which side of the line we land on, because you can excuse anything and be like, well, I can do what I want to do. It's like, yeah, you can. That doesn't mean you should.
Right.
You know,
That's real.
that's the whole argument of, I'm grown, I can do what I want to do. It's just like, well, yes, you can, but that doesn't mean it's recommended,
Exactly. That's real.
or that it's even to your benefit.
Yep.
But I'm sure this argument will go on, and I look forward to the comments. I mean, I really do. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of different perspectives. I'm sure that people will take a lot of different stances that people will take on this one. I just want to remind you all that we did have a video that was put out last week, I
Hmm.
believe, where we were just kind of ranting. We were just kind of, venting on different topics, here and there, whatever was going on with us. And we did end up diving into politics and what have you. And so if you haven't already, go ahead and check that out and leave your comments. And if you want to rant, go ahead and post in the comments your own little rant, your own little vent that has something to do with what we're talking about, or it's just completely different. It could be just, you know, that's your opportunity to just be like, look, so I bought these new shoes and I ain't like, whatever.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, but
Yes.
anything else you wanted to ask that this whole bonnet debacle?
Oh my gosh. Each one teach one. Whether it's about a bonnet or something else,
Each one wear
Yeah.
one.
We have a duty and a responsibility to those that come after us.
Yeah.
And if we want the world to go on a better trajectory than what it has been, then we have to, place more energy into our young folks and the
Yeah.
path that they're on. And that might be kind of heavy in comparison to the conversation about bonnets, but it all ties in, because if we don't respect ourselves, if we don't care about anything,
Hmm.
then anything is acceptable. And is
Absolutely.
that what we really want, as a people? Is
Absolutely.
that what we really want, for anything to be acceptable?
Right. Right. And not to dive back in, but something that just popped in my head. I think it's interesting how some of the arguments dove straight into, well, why should we care how white people see us? And it's like, hmm, who said this was about how white people see us?
Right,
Do we care about how we see each other? It's
right.
interesting that some people's minds jump straight to white people's perception of us and totally disregarding the perceptions we have of ourselves and of each other.
Hmm. Yep.
Because this is a
It speaks
black woman.
volumes.
Yeah, this is a black
Hmm.
woman talking about how she saw other black women.
Yeah.
She didn't say, oh my God, there were white people there. Can you believe these black women had on bonnets with white people around? That's not
Right.
what she said. She was talking about how she saw these women and her thoughts and all of that. So yeah, it's about, let's just stick to us and how we present ourselves to each other
Right.
and how we present ourselves within our own communities and how we look at each other. I mean, a lot of us jumped up and down and said some of these black men needed to step up and talk to these young black men about pulling up their pants. I remember
Yeah.
when that was a whole big thing of where are the black men? Where the, where are the old heads?
Mm-hmm.
They need to snatch up these boys and tell them to pull up their pants. I remember that. That wasn't
Yeah,
that long ago.
for sure. But see, it was okay because it wasn't a conversation about Black women and how they need to change their behavior, you know, because it's always that whenever it's talking about any other group combination or whatever, then it's okay. We can chime in, we could say whatever we want. But when the tables are turned and it's a conversation about Black women, oh no, that's just not acceptable. And my thing is like, everybody, well, I'm not going to say everybody, but there's this whole thing about, being a boss and all of this kind of stuff. So in being a boss, doesn't that mean in part that you are your best self?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're doing something, and bonnets aside, this is just across the board. If you're doing something that is detrimental to you and you don't realize that it's detrimental to you, why wouldn't you want someone to let you know that this potentially could happen,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can make a boss decision
Right.
on whether it is something that you want to continue or not?
Yeah,
It's too much. It just makes too much sense.
it
So,
does. It does. It does. So we're gonna wrap this up, and again, we would love to read your comments. So anything that you like to share, please do drop it in the comments. We want to thank NERDSoul as always for allowing us to be on this platform. You can check out all of his content on YouTube on ThatNERDSoul. You can check out his merchandise on shop.nerdsoul.com. And he does have, just to give a plug, he has an event coming up on Juneteenth. He has another version of the Rent Party. For those of you that know, he has done the Rent Party before, where he has different guests. He's doing panels where he has Black comic designers, writers, you name it, across the board. And so he is doing another event on Juneteenth. Check it out. It is going to take place at a special location. It's going to be good, y'all. Y'all don't want to miss it. There are going to be cosplayers. It's just going to be a whole lot going on, a whole lot popping. But yeah, check out any of our videos that you haven't seen. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And check us out next time for another new topic. So bye, y'all.
peace, love, and light, everybody.